Hi, my name is Amiruddin Noorman. So today I want to make a presentation about my studies with title Investigating Interplay of Social Support and Mental Health Among Sport Students.
For the background of my study, social factors such as peer relationship, social support, and group dynamic have been identified as crucial determinants of mental health among sport students. The interplay between these social factors and mental health is particularly significant. For instance, team support may provide a protective effect against stress, high expectation, and performance pressure, which could lead to mental health challenges.
Alright, now let's take a look at the infographic data from the WHO in 2020. In 2020, there are at least 73% of college students says that school is overwhelming, while the other 68% are stressed about the upcoming school year. Over 1 in 2 college students skip class because of mental health issues, and at least 1 in 3 students fail a test due to mental health issues, and 29% of students fail the class because of mental health issues. And lastly, over 1 in 4 students have taken a leave of absence from school due to mental health issues.
Alright, now we move to the program statement. There are 3 programs associated. The first one, balancing academic commitments with physical and mental health demands of sport participants often creates a high stress environment which leads to mental health issues. Next, lack of adequate social support can lead to mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, and burnout, which may hinder academic and athletic success. And lastly, while previous research has highlighted the general importance of social support and mental health in broader populations, limited studies focus specifically on sports students.
Alright, we move to the research objective. In this study, there are 3 research objectives, which is number 1, to examine social support level among sport students. Research objective 2, to examine mental health level among sport students. And research objective 3, to investigate relationships between social support and mental health among sport students. Now we move to the limitations and delimitations of this study. There are some things that I can't control, such as dishonesty, the external factors, and mood of the respondents, while the things that I can control is specific populations and research questionnaire. Without proper control, this most aspect can interrupt the process of my finding.
Based on this Journal 1 shows that it isn't just having supports that protects mental health, but what really matters is feeling truly satisfied with that supports. Next, Journal 2 shows that social and cultural supports around sports really matters, which does not just playing sport itself, while Journal 3 emphasizes building psychological resilience such as confidence, persistence, and control, which can help athletes to stay mentally healthy even under pressure.
Now we move to the methodology. For the research design, this study emphasized a survey-based quantitative research design which technically a structured questionnaires to examine the social supports and mental health among sport students. Meanwhile, for the sampling techniques, the respondents are from students in Faculty of Sports Science FSR UiTM Seremban 3 across gender and age groups. For the sample size calculation, the population represented FSR students in UiTM Seremban 3 are 1,331. Because I already know my population, I will just using Craigie and Morgan, which indicates my sample size are around 300 respondents. For the research instruments, questionnaires and survey-based are used to measure social support and mental health among sport students. As you can see in the screen, Google Form will be the main platform to conduct my questionnaire, which is in the Google Form, the multidimensional scale of perceived social support MSPSS to assess the social support, while the depression, anxiety, and stress scale 21-21 can be used to assess mental health. For the data collection procedures, there are 4 steps that I have to follow. For the first one, I have to get the approval. Next, I have to recruit the participant. And next, administer the questionnaire to my target respondents. And lastly, do the data analysis. For data and statistical analysis, descriptive statistics will be used to determine the frequency and mean. To test the normality of my study, I can use the Kolmogorov and Smirnov method. And lastly, because my data are not normally distributed, Spearman's rank correlation will be used to find the next objective.
For the demographic analysis, a total of 305 students from the Faculty of Sports Science and Recreation at UiTM Semantiga took part in this study. Let's take a look one by one. In terms of age, most of the students were around 22 years old, which fits the usual age range for university students in this program. When we look at the gender, the majority of respondents were male, making up 50.5% of the total. This may reflect the nature of sport-related programs, which often have more male students. Most of the participants were Malay, which is expected as UiTM mainly serves Bumiputra students. For academic program, my students were taking the Bachelor of Sports Management followed by other related sports science courses. Regarding their academic performance, the average GPA was 3.3 and CGPA was 3.4, which suggests that most students are performing good academically. In terms of household income, the majority come from M40 group, meaning middle income household. Lastly, looking at the parents' education levels, most fathers and mothers had reached the secondary school level. For research objective 1, we analyzed the levels of social support among the students by using 3 subscales: family, friends, and significant others. Based on the descriptive statistics, we can see that the mean score for all 3 types of social support is quite high, close to the maximum value of 3. This means that most students felt they had a high level of support from these 3 sources. For family support, the mean is 2.47 with a standard deviation of 0.79, showing most students agree that their family supports them. For friend support, the mean is 2.46 and the standard deviation is 0.81, which also indicates a strong support system from their friends. For significant others, the mean is 2.45 with a standard deviation of 0.82, which is slightly lower but still shows good support from partners or close people outside family and friends. For research objective 2, we look at the students' level of depression, anxiety, and stress using the DAS-21 scale. The result shows that the mean depression level is 2.46 with a standard deviation of 1.38. This means that, on average, students experience mild to moderate level of depression. The anxiety level has a higher mean of 3.33 and a standard deviation of 1.70, showing that many students experience moderate to high anxiety. And lastly, for stress, the mean is 2.14 with a standard deviation of 1.63, indicating that most students have mild stress, but there are still some with higher levels. Next, for the research objective 3, correlation testing, the results clearly demonstrate that perceived social support has a strong and significant negative relationship with mental health problems among sports students. For example, the correlation between stress and family support was negative 0.979, which is a very strong negative relationship. Similarly, depression also had strong negative correlation with family support, which is negative 0.840, the support negative 0.8 0.56, and significant other support, which is negative 0.855. Specifically, those who reported high level of support from family, friends, and significant others tend to experience significantly lower levels of depression, anxiety, and stress. These findings highlight that social supports act as a critical protective factor, helping to reduce psychological distress and promote better mental health among sports students. Next, we discuss about social support. High perceived social support dominates across all three subscales, 65.6 for each subscale. Next, low perceived support is slightly more common in the significant other subscale, 21%, higher than the family, 19%, and friend, which is 20%. Moderate perceived support is the least common category across all subscales, which is family, 18.4%, friends, 14.4%, and significant other, 13.4%. The findings suggest that support students at UiTM Sumber generally perceive a high level of social support from their surroundings. This reflects a strong support culture within families and peer groups. The slightly lower perception of support from significant others might be due to students being younger, with fewer in long-term or deeply intimate relationships. This also aligns with Gerber et al. 2018, who emphasized the importance of peer and family connection in promoting psychological resilience in student athletes. Next, for the mental health, the highest number of students had mild depression, which is 37%, which is more than those with normal level, which is 28.9%. In overall, 71.1% of students show some level of depression. For anxiety, only 26.6 at normal level, while 43 had extremely severe anxiety, making it the most common. In total, 73.8 had some form of anxiety, and lastly, stress, 66.2 at normal levels, but 33.4% experience severe or extremely severe. The reason is this might stem from intense academic workloads, performance pressures, and future career uncertainties, which is a common stresses in student athletes population. The correlation between social support and mental health could indicate that while social support is present, it may not be perceived as helpful in reducing distress, especially under high-pressure academic and sports contexts. Another possible explanation is that the quality of social support matters more than quantity, and standardized questionnaire might not capture nuanced emotional support, coping strategies, or individual resilience level.
The conclusion based on my study is there is no significant relationship between social support and mental health among FSR sports students in UiTM Serban 3. Alright, for the recommendation, there are 3 recommendations that I can give, which is for the first one, from the institutional level. Since many students reported symptoms of depression, anxiety, and stress, especially anxiety, universities should introduce or strengthen mental health programs, including counseling services specific to student athletes, regular mental health screenings, and workshops specifically addressing depression and anxiety management. Next, on the social levels, although support is widely available, its effectiveness needs to be strengthening. Effort should be made to build peer mentoring system, team cohesion activities, and mental health literacy among teammates and coaches, ensuring students receive not just support, but the right kind of support. And lastly, for the future studies, the studies should adapt or adopt mixed methods to explore the qualitative dimension of social support by understanding how students perceive and engage with support system. This study also can track how social support influence mental health outcomes over time, especially during high pressure season like tournaments or exams.